Life lesson stories always carry a powerful message, and this one is about the real love that grows within a home, a dangerous lie, betrayal, deception, and a revelation that can change everything. Get ready, because what you're about to hear might transform how you see family and trust. Loving someone inside your home is more than just affection, it's trust with clear boundaries. You're right there with David and Susan when the doorbell rings, and for a moment, the weight of the past few months seems to fit inside a single breath. Two nannies have already quit. Every time they leave the house, it's filled with fear of failing as parents. Today, they choose something different, to start over. Starting over is also a form of love. This channel is new, created to inspire and show, through real-life lesson stories. Subscribe, share, and keep walking with us on this journey. The door opens and Olivia appears with a confident smile, a calm voice, and the posture of someone who's been through similar situations before. She says she understands routines, enjoys working with intense kids, and believes patience and respect go hand in hand. You can tell David and Susan want to believe her. They want to eat dinner in peace again, to hear their son's laughter without their hearts tightening with worry. Sometimes, loving means risking again, carefully. David gets right to the point. He explains the 3 house rules: no shoes inside, no alcohol, no visitors. He speaks without harshness, only clarity. There, boundaries mean care. It's the grown-up way of saying, I protect the people I love. Susan adds details about schedules, emergency contacts, and small instructions that reveal an organized, tired, but steady mother. Well-spoken rules prevent wounds that take too long to heal. Olivia repeats each rule out loud, as if taking on a commitment. She promises to send messages, to give small updates throughout the day. She smiles at Ethan, the 10-year-old boy watching everything silently. She asks about his favorite snack, his favorite game, when homework is due. Using his name, listening to his answer, respecting his personal preferences, respect starts right there. Ethan prefers to listen. He's learned to read people through details, questions that dodge the point, compliments that feel too easy, silences that carry weight. In his backpack, he carries a notebook of ideas, and on his wrist, the watch he got for his birthday. He likes to play inventor, as he tells his dad. In that simple gesture lies another lesson: autonomy guided by responsibility gives security to a curious child. Susan kneels in front of her son for a moment, adjusts his shirt collar, and tells him she trusts him. Words like that change the atmosphere in a home. When trust is spoken aloud, an invisible pact is formed: you believe in me, and I honor that belief. Ethan nods with his eyes, puts his notebook away, organizes his thoughts. Being heard transforms any relationship. Before leaving, David reinforces, if anything goes wrong, call. It's a message for Olivia and also for Ethan. Asking for help is maturity, not weakness. True love offers both a safe harbor and a compass. Olivia assures them she understands, thanks them for the opportunity, says she wants to contribute. Everything sounds like relief. Everything finally seems to be in place. You watch the door close and the house settle into its own silence. It's a brief silence, transitional. Ethan looks at the new babysitter without hostility, just attentiveness. He knows families work when everyone does their part: parents who guide, caregivers who respect, children treated as people with voices. The lesson at the heart of this scene is simple and deep: trust needs clear boundaries, and boundaries only make sense when they serve love. Olivia pulls out her phone to confirm the day's schedule, asks Ethan if he'd rather start with homework or a snack. He chooses homework. It's an ordinary beginning, and ordinary beginnings also support extraordinary stories. In many families, peace starts exactly like this, with simple rules, genuine listening, and the daily choice to begin again. Hold on to this truth as the first hours unfold: love isn't the absence of problems. Love is steady presence, even when everything demands speed. And sometimes, what saves a family is exactly what you just witnessed: the courage to trust, the wisdom to set boundaries, the willingness to listen. The rest, the house tells in its own voice. The moment the door closed, the mask of perfection began to crumble. Olivia looked around with a victorious air, as if she'd just claimed territory that now belonged to her. With a quick motion, she slipped her shoes back on and opened her bag. She pulled out a hidden bottle and drank from it without shame, while Ethan sat watching silently. Right there was the first crack between promise and reality. When love is real, it proves itself in the details. When it's a lie, the details expose it too. Minutes later, the doorbell rang. Two guys walked in without hesitation. Chris and Daniel acted like they belonged in that house, but barely glanced at each other. Ethan noticed right away: they didn't even know the other existed. Olivia greeted them both with the same intensity, using sweet words that sounded fake to anyone watching from the outside. Between conversations, she made sure to brag. She told them how she tricked both to get gifts, favors, comfort. The pride she carried was rooted in manipulation, not affection. And every word revealed that someone who doesn't know how to love ends up using people as tools. On the table, she spread out the cash Susan had left for weekly groceries. She played with the bills like they were poker chips, then announced they'd be used to buy drugs. She laughed at her own boldness, confident she could later invent a convincing excuse. Inside, Ethan felt fury. But he stayed silent, holding in his heart the certainty that this wasn't just a broken rule, it was an attack on the very love and trust his parents had placed in her. While the guys laughed at her stories, Olivia proudly talked about her plan to manipulate Ethan, saying she could convince his parents he was impossible and needed to be sent to boarding school. Her words landed like stones, but he didn't react. In that moment, maturity meant choosing silence to listen. Love sometimes demands patience before action. Ethan understood that if he wanted to protect his family, he had to wait for the right moment. When the guys left, Olivia flopped onto the couch like someone who'd already won. She didn't know that every laugh, every confession, every gesture was actually evidence against her. And Ethan, still quiet, carried within him a strength that came not just from intelligence, but from love for his parents. Real love doesn't shout, it watches, waits, and at the perfect moment, stands up to protect. That was when Ethan realized: someone who acts with lies might seem victorious for a moment, but someone who acts with love builds a victory that lasts. Olivia, sure she controlled everything, snatched the tablet from Ethan's hands and arrogantly told him he'd never get the chance to prove anything. She laughed like she'd just ended the game. But she overlooked one detail: on the boy's wrist, the smartwatch was recording every word. That little device, a birthday gift, had now become a shield. Every mocking laugh, every confession about drugs and manipulation, was being saved, ready to be used at the right time. Ethan pretended to be scared, stayed quiet, and let slip a carefully calculated look of fear. It was acting, but acting fueled by love for his parents. He didn't just want to defend himself, he wanted them to finally see the truth. Olivia stepped closer and, in a threatening tone, said she'd convince them to send him to boarding school. She promised to show them he was the problem in the house. Ethan didn't argue. He held back his emotions and played along, because he understood that if he reacted, he'd give her exactly the advantage she wanted. He realized his strength was precisely in his silence. Every second recorded on the watch was an arrow aimed at the lie. Olivia rummaged through his backpack, finding only drawings, scribbled notebooks, and loose notes. She smiled with contempt, called him a weak child, and felt even more secure. She had no idea her own arrogance was digging the hole she'd soon fall into. Ethan mentally organized every detail. He knew he didn't need to fabricate evidence. Olivia was providing it all herself. He just had to wait until his parents came home. The watch became a symbol of a simple truth: real love isn't just about feeling, it's about acting with courage to protect the people you love. He was ready to defend not only himself, but also the trust his parents had placed in her. In that heavy silence of the living room, Olivia believed she had won. She thought he was cornered. But in Ethan's heart, love for his parents had already turned into strategy. He understood that some battles aren't won with shouting or force, but with patience and faith that truth always finds its way. And in that moment, amid all the manipulation, the greatest lesson bloomed: when love is real, it becomes quiet courage, preparing victory even before it arrives. The key turned in the lock, and Ethan's heart raced. This was the moment he'd been silently waiting for. David and Susan walked in relieved, believing they'd finally found the solution for peace in their home. Olivia didn't waste a second. She rushed to them and began speaking, dramatizing every word. She claimed Ethan had been impossible, that he'd disrespected everything, screamed, needed strict discipline, maybe even boarding school. Her words fell like sharp knives, trying to slice through the bond of trust between parents and child. Susan pressed her hand to her chest, shocked and heartbroken. David narrowed his eyes, struggling to hold back his frustration. Ethan took a deep breath, but didn't rush. The trust driving him was stronger than fear. He lifted his arm and, with a simple tap on his watch, filled the room with another voice, Olivia's. Mocking laughter echoed. Confessions about drugs, plans to deceive her boyfriends, the strategy to frame him, it was all there, alive, undeniable. The silence that followed was razor-sharp. Every second of the recording struck his parents like a hammer. Olivia tried to lunge toward the boy, but David stopped her. Susan, holding back tears, looked at her son, then at the babysitter. It was as if the full weight of the lie had crashed down all at once. Olivia stammered excuses, made up new stories, but it was far too late. The doorbell rang, and 2 police officers walked in. They'd received an anonymous tip about drug possession. Ethan had planned ahead. The officers searched the bag left on the couch and confirmed everything. Olivia, now pale, was handcuffed in front of the family. The show was over. The lie, which had seemed so powerful, collapsed in minutes. The truth, silent until then, revealed its strength. When the door closed behind the babysitter, David and Susan turned to Ethan. They no longer saw the boy accused of being difficult, they saw their brave son who used intelligence and love to protect his own family. Susan hugged him tightly, apologizing for doubting him so many times. David, emotional, said he was proud to have a son who could stand up to injustice. Ethan, in turn, apologized for the act, explaining he had to do it so everyone could see who Olivia really was. That night, the dinner table became a place of reunion again. They ordered Ethan's favorite meal, laughed with relief, and talked about how much they'd learned. The boy once seen as rebellious was now a symbol of courage. And there, in the simple act of sharing food, they all understood the lesson life had handed them: true love is sustained by trust, trust is born from truth, and truth only grows stronger when someone has the courage to defend it. It was in that moment Ethan discovered something even greater, that love is the force capable of turning pain into wisdom and injustice into victory. And that when a family stands united in truth, no lie can survive. This channel is new and brings real-life lessons. Support our growth on YouTube, subscribe, leave a like, share with others, and don't miss our next videos.